So 90 days ago, I set myself a challenge to post on LinkedIn every single day for 90 days. No batching excuses, no skipping days, no I'll make it up tomorrow, just daily publishing. And here's what it did for my pipeline. And more importantly, here's what it did to my mindset so you can decide for yourself if it's worth doing for your own B2B service business. So for context, I want to give you some reasons why I did it in the first place. So I didn't do it to go viral. I didn't do it for vanity metrics. There was two simple reasons why I did it. One is I wanted to strengthen my own skill in terms of LinkedIn content, because I think it's important that you practice what you preach. And number two, I wanted to gather a robust data set so I could make informed decisions about my content strategy. Now, if you've ever read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, you may remember this story, and it's always stuck with me since I read that book. So there was a photography professor called Jerry Uselman. He was in the University of Florida, and one time he did this experiment. So he divided his photography class into two groups. Group one, they were graded purely on the quantity of photos that they took that semester. The other group was graded on the quality of their photographs. So all they needed to do that entire semester was take the one perfect photograph. And what was really interesting is at the end of the term, the best of the best photograph didn't come from the group that you'd expect. So in spite of the fact that the quality group only had to take one photo, what happened over the course of that semester is they agonized over theory and logic and around how to take that perfect shot. Meanwhile, the people in the quantity group, because they were graded on literally the volume of shots that they could take in that period of time, they were getting the repetitions in, they were learning for something each time. And what happened was the best photograph came from the quantity group. And there's a real lesson in that it's repetition beats perfection. And that really stuck with me. So posting every day for 1 quarter, 3 months, 90 days, gives you something incredibly valuable, a large sample size. So in that period of time, I've had 90 posts. That means my top 10% is 9 posts. It also means my bottom 10% is 9 posts. And that's enough data to spot patterns, to see what themes hit, what hooks worked, what tone resonated. Now let's compare the exact same time frame, 90 days, except you post once per week. So over that same period of time, you end up with 12 posts at the end of that period. Your top 10% is just 1 post. Your bottom 10% is also just 1 post. And with 1 post, that's not a pattern, it's luck. So a daily cadence helps to completely remove the guesswork from your content strategy. But the biggest shift for me wasn't in the numbers. It was actually up here. It was psychological. So before the challenge, I had a terrible habit. I'd create content, I'd decide it wasn't good enough to publish, and it would just sit somewhere in my Google Drive. I'd think to myself, it's not good enough. I'll refine it tomorrow. Maybe this isn't strong enough. I would just sit there unpublished. But when you force yourself to post daily, you don't actually have time to be precious. You just have to publish and move on. So it killed the perfectionism that was lying inside me. It also killed another bad habit that I had. And tell me if this resonates with you. So if I had a run of a few consecutively good performing posts with high impressions, and then I got 1 post that bombed, I'd get into my own head and I'd tell myself, oh, the algorithm must be punishing me for the high frequency. If that thinking resonates with you, please do comment below, because I'd love to know that I'm not alone. And what would happen in those scenarios is I'd slow down, I'd take a break, and I'd break my rhythm. And I might not post again for a few weeks. Posting daily removes the drama and the emotional tie that you get with your content. If a bad post happens, it's just 1 data point, not an entire identity crisis. And I actually see a lot of parallels with getting fit as well. So if you're weighing yourself once a week and you miss your goal for 2 weeks in a row, what tends to happen is you get disheartened, you think that what you're doing isn't working, and inevitably some people do fall off the bandwagon. But if you start to weigh yourself daily, You start to see the fluctuations are natural, and you understand that weight loss isn't linear. It's the same with content. You get your ups and your downs, but you learn to look at the trend rather than the individual post performance. And again, when you expose yourself daily to it, it removes the emotional attachment that you have with the content that you put out there into the world. Now let's talk results. So over the 90 days, content alone generated 5 inbound leads. So that's someone who saw one of my posts, didn't really know me all that well, and decided that they wanted my help. I closed 4 of them. Was it life-changing? No. Was it unexpected? Also no. So I've been in the industry for nearly 8 years now in terms of the content game. And I know well that content alone does not produce a predictable lead flow. And this is a really important point that I want to drive home. So during that same time frame, I wasn't just producing content every day. I was doing outbound on LinkedIn. That generated 60 leads in that period of time. I also turned on meta ads in January. To date, and this is the 19th of March, that has generated 79 leads so far. And here's where content comes into its own. So every ad lead and every outbound lead connects with me on LinkedIn. I have my systems set up so that if we're not connected, we automatically connect. And once we're connected, they'll end up seeing my posts. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. And I notice that some of them start to engage and they warm up. And then when you start to see someone consistently engaging with your content, that's a buying signal. So now I can prioritize those conversations, and content becomes a trust layer. So ads create the awareness, and the outbound create the conversations. And that's where content comes in terms of building that trust. You end up getting a flywheel effect of one feeding the other. So I know what you're thinking. Was it worth the effort? So I'm going to break that down for 2 types of people who will likely be watching this video. So if you have no system and no regular way to get inbound leads, and you think that posting every day for 90 days will magically create a heap of inbound business, it won't. Unless you are unbelievably good at creating content, it's highly likely that you will not produce the volume you need to get reward for that effort. But if you do have a repeatable pipeline system and you've got clear positioning, you have outbound running in tandem with this in what I call an all-bound system, and you have ads feeding the attention, then yes, it is absolutely worth it because it ends up accelerating everything. And the consistency you get with building that skill and making it literally a non-negotiable every single week is it starts to strengthen all of the other parts of the machine. So if you can create organic content, you can also create ads that help to drive leads automatically. And perhaps more importantly, it actually changes who you become as a person. You stop being someone who tries to post and you just become someone who publishes. And that shift alone in your mind is really powerful. So if you're a B2B founder and you enjoy these insights and real world practical advice, I've come up with a custom GPT to help rewrite your LinkedIn profile within a couple of clicks. You get that for signing up to our weekly newsletter, which I'll put the link in the description below. And in this next video, I'll break down the best approach for making sales from LinkedIn in the next 90 days. I'll see you there. Bye.